Why carry out stability studies? Stability testing must be carried out as part of the application process for the authorization of a feed additive in the EU. It forms part of Section 2 of the feed additive dossier based on the identity, characterisation, conditions of use, and methods of analysis of the feed additive. Stability tests should be designed to allow the determination of the shelf life of the feed additive in its proposed formulations, the testing of recommended storage conditions by providing evidence of how the quality of the product varies over time under different conditions. The stability of a feed additive is generally determined by the analytical follow-up of the active substances and agents, or the activity, viability of the active agent. The factors of the active agent measured in the stability test depends on the form of the active agent. For example, for enzymes, the stability may be measured as a loss of catalytic activity, or for microorganisms in terms of loss of viability. Specific effects may be claimed for a particular form of the additive, in which case the stability of that particular form should be determined. An example is in the case of chelation. In the instance where there is more than one active substance, for example, in a mixture, the stability of each active substance in a mixture must be determined. Stability tests should be carried out on the feed additive itself and all its relevant matrices, including in feeding stuffs, premixes, feed processing, such as from mash to pellets, and in water. When carrying out stability tests of each formulation of the feed additive, there are a number of things to be considered. Tests should be carried out to provide data from a minimum 3 independent batches. Tests should be carried out on exposure to a range of different environmental conditions. The expected shelf life of the additive should be based on 2 model situations, covering likely range of use conditions. For additives used in pre-mixtures and in feeding stuffs, with the exception of flavouring compounds, the stability of each formulation of the additive should be studied under common manufacturing and storage conditions of pre-mixtures and of feeding stuffs. When relevant, stability studies in feeding stuffs should be determined in mash and further processed feed, such as pelleting or extruded feed, and allow the assessment of the influence of processing. The duration of a stability study in feeding stuffs should reflect the technological role of the additive. Stability studies in feeding stuffs should be carried out for at least 3 months. Studies in premixes should be carried out for at least 6 months. For additives intended to be distributed via drinking water, the stability of the additive in drinking water should be studied at the recommended inclusion level, under conditions simulating practical use. Stability studies in water should be carried out for a minimum duration of 48 hours. Data from these studies should also take into account the presence of any excipients, which could lead to the growth of contaminating microorganisms. Observation should include at least 1 measurement at the beginning and 1 at the end of storage, and sufficient data points should be observed to allow for appropriate data analysis. Further information on requirements for stability studies can be found in Commission Regulation EC number 429/2008 regarding the preparation and the presentation for applications and the assessment and the authorization of feed additives, as well as the EFSA guidance on identity, characterization, and conditions of use of feed additives.